Hello and welcome to Channels Book Club. I am Olakunle Kasumo. It's great to have you on the show again. Thank you for joining us as you always do. Last week, we visited the Anglo-Nigerian Welfare Association for the Blind at Yaba, Lagos, and showed you how they go about converting regular books to Braille formats that blind people can read. As a follow-up to that, we have a special guest today who will further shed light on the issues concerning accessibility to books by the blind in Nigeria, issues we addressed last week. I will introduce her soon, but before then, as we always do, let's have our brain teaser time. Two words that are often mixed up are writer and author. Are they different? Well, judging by the way people use them interchangeably, you'll be forgiven to assume they mean the same thing, but they are actually not. Writer and author are different words and mean different things, even though they are related in some ways. Now let's try to define or describe each one, and hopefully that should help in explaining the differences between writer and author. Who is a writer? Generally, a writer is a person who uses written words in different styles and techniques to communicate ideas. A writer is a person who engages in the process of writing. If you spend your time writing books, novellas, or short stories, you are a writer. A writer doesn't have to write anything original, by the way. If you are a journalist or a ghostwriter, a blogger or a screenwriter, the subject matter and central idea of your piece of writing may come from someone else, but you are still a writer. For example, ghostwriters. You want to write a book, but you can't write it either because you don't have the time or skill set. So you hire a ghostwriter who writes the book for you, but at the end of the day, it's your name on the back of the book as the author. Now, that ghostwriter is a writer, ghostwriter. Okay? Now, who is an author? An author is someone whose written work has been published. In addition to producing published work, people who write are considered authors when they originate the ideas and content of their written work. For this reason, most authors are writers, but not all writers are considered to be authors. You can be a writer without being an author. Now, what is the difference between a writer and an author? Well, the primary difference between a writer and an author has to do with whether or not your work is published. If you've written dozens of science fiction novels, children's books, and various literary pieces, but none of them have ever been published, you are technically a writer. However, if your next book is distributed by the publishing industry, that act of publishing makes you an author. In the era of self-publishing, it's even easier than ever before because you can get your own work out as quickly as possible without waiting for or relying on traditional publishers. Well, I hope that was helpful. Now, our guest today is a young lady who inspires like few others. She's Kemi Odusonya, the administrative officer of the Nigeria Association of the Blind, which is basically the umbrella organization for the blind and partially sighted persons in Nigeria. Kemi, who is blind, is an advocate for making books and other reading materials accessible to the blind and people with disabilities in Nigeria. I like to describe people like Kemi as the true unsung heroes of Nigeria, people who, despite incredible challenges, forge on and do the kind of important work most of us do not celebrate. She joins us to discuss her experiences, access to books for the blind, and things related. Enjoy this. So, Kemi, nice to have you on Channels Book Club.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you here.
Thank you.
You're very inspiring, Kemi. I mean,
Yeah.
we've not known each other for long, but I mean, the few conversations we've had have been very inspiring. You are fully blind. Is that correct? I know saying somebody is blind is very general.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
Okay, because if you say someone is blind, that means the person can't see at all. So you can say if someone can see a little, you can say the person is partially sighted or visually impaired. But fortunately, I know some people won't like this. He who uses glasses is also visually impaired because you have an atom of eye defect, which you use the glasses to aid yourself. So you are visually impaired. But if you cannot see at all, you are blind.
Blind. Okay, I use glasses, by the way. Okay. Now, so for you, it's a case of being blind.
Yeah, total.
So you don't see at all.
At all.
What's that world like?
The world is like every other world. It's calm, it's sane, it's cool, it's relaxing. Every other thing you experience is what I do. The only difference is that you see beautiful colors, you see lightings, but I see just color black. Yeah.
Oh, that's tough for
I know
for those of us that are not blind to imagine.
Exactly.
Now, you became blind at 15, you told me.
Yeah. 15, 14.
15.
Yeah.
So up until 14, you could see like any other normal person.
Exactly.
So what happened?
Okay, so right from my childhood, I've been using glasses. I've been using very, very concave glasses. And afterwards, my eyes started itching me. So they referred me from my optician to an ophthalmologist. So, and they detected retinal detachment, which has to be operated as an emergency surgery. So I did that. And funnily, I did that with one eye because the left eye had lost its strength before then. And due to ignorance, actually, I was even using one eye to see and I did not know, kind of. So I went for the surgery, and the day I was discharged, I wanted to go use the toilet, and I came back because the doctor was like, don't put your eyes on the floor, don't look at the ground and all that. So I was coming back facing up. So unfortunately, the door of the car was opened, and lo and behold, I hit the car with the eye. I hit the eye with the car. And afterwards, about a month, I complained that I was seeing balls. I was the only one seeing some holes in my eyes. No one could say it. If I look up, I'll be seeing it. So it's making me uncomfortable. So the doctor said I should come back. I came for laser joints. It's like welding the eye. So I did that, nothing happened. And afterwards, they told me to do another surgery, which I did that in ending of 2006. I did that, the muzzle of my eye came out. If I'm looking at you, my eyeball will be looking at another place. And you'll be like, oh, I'm talking to you. I'll be like, yeah, I'm looking at you. You'll be like, no, your eyeball is facing another place. So I did that, and my eyes could not even, you cannot even look at it because the muzzles were so seen, it was visible. So I had to go for another laser, nothing happened. I went for the third surgery and I was like, oh, Kemi, it be a bad day, like this is how it is. So that's how it is.
Kemi, you're so bright, so jovial, so alive, you know.
Right.
Very inspiring. Now, you were in SS2 when that happened.
Yeah, SS1 going to SS2.
SS1 going to SS2.
Yeah.
Wow. So you were almost done with secondary school.
Yeah, I was, and I was so loving further maths, geography, and all that. But
So now, what happened after you became blind with regards to? Okay, let's talk about life generally, and then let's talk about reading more specifically.
Okay, life generally after I became blind, it was kind of tearful because this was my first. I never knew something like that could happen. I never foresaw that, and my mom was always crying up and down. So in the middle of her tears, someone walked up to her and was like, oh, she could still go back to school. They're like, oh, how come? They're like, oh, you could go back. She could go back, just go to Pacelli school and learn more. And she went there. Unfortunately, I was scheduled for the next interview. So I went to the school, did my rehab for 1 year. And afterwards, I went back to secondary school to change because I was in science class when I was seeing. So I had to change to art class. And afterwards, finished from there and went to university.
So they taught you Braille?
Yes, I was taught Braille. I was taught how to type. I was taught how to read in Braille, how to write in Braille, and all that.
How difficult is it to learn Braille?
Fortunately for me, it wasn't. Maybe due to the fact that I was still a little girl, 1, 2, I was open. I was ready to learn at every given opportunity. So it was kind of easy for me. But some people tell you it's hard because you start feeling it. When I first saw it, I was like, why did you put Gary inside your book and all that? And so, but afterwards, my teacher took time to teach me and all that. And between 3 months in Selly, I was able to learn and read and write in Braille.
I understand that access to Braille books is quite difficult.
Very difficult.
Publishers are getting money, like government subventions, you know. but they take the money and just produce for people with normal sights,
Yeah.
with almost complete disregard for people who are disabled, and including the blind.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yes, access to accessible books, I would say, because books, when it comes to book generally, a different format. There is the braille, there is the accessible, there's the digital format and all that. So, like you said, publisher, basically everything you said is actually true. So there's no need of just
No need to, I mean, no need to
no
sugarcoat, no
printing it,
need to be
exactly.
nice. I mean, so Kemi, you are the admin officer
Yeah.
for the Nigeria Association of the Blind.
Perfect.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
So what are the biggest challenges of the association with regards to making books accessible to the blind and promoting education among the blind?
Okay, basically, when it comes to Nigeria Association of the Blind, we do several projects when it comes to books and accessible books. So the challenges are we have to get books, we have to get this print materials that are inaccessible. In fact, almost all the print materials are inaccessible, then convert it into Braille. So that's another process. Or also convert it into digital formats, such as the EPUB, the PDF files, and all that. So, and this actually takes a lot of money and commitment. So if, for instance, from the inception, the publishers has or had made their publication accessible in digital format, it would have been easy. Do you understand? So instead of us, Nigeria Association of the Blind, going through that process, fighting, Marrakesh Treaty and all that, it would have been easy. But these are challenges. We need to make sure that there are funds in there to convert this product or convert these books into accessible format.
Okay. So, I mean, so Braille books, if I may use that expression, they're not the only way. I mean, it's a modern technological world now, you know. So tell me about those other options of a blind person being able to read.
Okay. Basically, we have the digital format, the EPUB format, and we have...
Does that come in audio?
Yeah, it could come in audio, it could come in... It's print and audio, basically. So it's just like having your PDF files, right? And you can read it. It's accessible for a blind person. So instead of having the book in a physical format, it comes in the digital format.
So how does a blind person read that? So
it's reads it. There's a for instance, if you have your EPUB file, you could read it on your phone. So your phone, which has that speech software, can read it for you. It's accessible. All the all the mistakes and all that. It tells you how many pages is this. It tells you if you want to read by page, it will tell you. If you want to read by headings or by paragraph and all that, it's easy to read that way.
Okay.
Yes. So we have the digital format, which is the EPUB. We have the audio format, maybe just reading the print material with the voice and just converting it like that into maybe a recorder or something like that. Yeah. So we have the audio format as well, and we have the Braille. Like you said, this is technology, and that is gradually winding into a technological space, just like we have the Orbit Reader. So Orbit Reader is like, it's like a very small device. You can connect it to your phone or to your your laptop and what have you. So whatever you're pressing on your phone, it translates into the Braille format on that Orbit Reader. So you can then feel it with your hand to read.
So that's a challenge for people who are blind in schools, in Nigerian universities.
But fortunately, we have laws that are in this country, Nigeria. Nigeria ratified the Marrakesh Treaty that talks about making textbooks or print materials to be accessible for blind and otherwise print disabled persons, but yet it's yet to be domesticated. These laws are there. We have the Nigerian copyright law. These laws are there, but the implementation is the problem. You meet a publisher, they tell you, oh no, because it's their hard-earned sweat, they can't give you access to that book. So that's why we're saying that publishers, if you are listening, definitely you are listening, please make your book accessible from the onset. It's actually very easy. It even makes the market simple. You don't have to, you won't be seeing your books littered up and down and all that, because now it's technology and so on. So people go online to get books. You could sell your books online. We'll be very glad to buy it if the book is accessible. So you see, from the onset, the publishers need to come to the aid of these persons. The government as well, you have funds that you give out and say, okay, fine, this fund is for... I remember when I was in secondary school, they were like, they're doing something of Eco Project. Between you and I, Eco Project was there, but I was not a beneficiary of that particular book. even when the government says, oh, it has to be free. But for me, it's another challenge. I can't go and be scanning it again. So government need to allocate some funds to make sure that this fund is to provide books in accessible format for persons who cannot see or have print disability. And even as individuals as well, if you can, which you can, contribute to these persons in the society. And definitely you are doing what you're putting a smile to their face.
Kemi.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just perfectly fitted for what you do. Well done. And it's been nice chatting with you.
Thank you.
I hope we can do this again.
Most definitely.
Great to have you on Channels Book Club.
Pleasure is mine.
Great.
Yeah.
Meshack Ilobi is an accomplished petroleum engineer with many years of experiences in oil and gas sector across multiple continents. While there is much to say about a successful professional career, it is the uniqueness of his birth and upbringing that thrilled the most in a compelling autobiography he has just released. An Igbo man born and raised in Zaria, Kaduna State in the northern part of Nigeria. As a young man, Meshack volunteered to serve as a member of the Red Cross during Nigeria's brutal civil war and would eventually experience the war like many others. These are just a few of the many highlights in his autobiography that is written in a creative fiction style.
My name is Meshack Ilobi, and I'm from Nkwele Zunaka in Anambra State. I was born in Sabongeri, Zaria, to southern parents, and my first 10 years were spent up there. I wrote this book, Living Between Worlds, as my autobiography, capturing the different phases of my life journey thus far. Let me read to you from page 8 of this book, speaking to my early days in Zaria. I bent over to resume my search for my shoe when I eventually heard the nearby roar of a train. And suddenly, the woman's antics in the rain made sense. I immediately jumped out of the railway tracks and into her waiting arms, just in time for the train to roar past with its horn blaring. Shivering in fright and shock, I cried into the hands and bosom of the stranger as she cuddled me and wept in sheer relief. She took me to her stall and offered me a bean cake that she was selling by the roadside. That Hausa woman saved my life. Me, the TC kid, the third culture kid, and with that action permanently erased from my heart the us versus them mentality. To this day, whenever anyone speaks in a derogatory manner about those houses to my hearing, the image of that Hausa mother springs to mind. In those moments, I confirm to myself that I am one with the Hausas and with any other Nigerian tribe. I refuse to see them as the others, because at heart, I identify with that Hausa woman who on that day substituted as my mother, groaning in the rain to see me safely delivered to her. The years rolled past. I relocated to the eastern region, where later on the Biafran War met me. I captured my time in the Biafran War both in and outside the Biafran army in the book. But I want to read of my time in Asia as a guest faculty. And this is on page 157 of the book. One of the students, a real clown, then quipped, "Sir, you are overworking us. We work till midnight to get this work ready for this morning. If you continue like this, we may just die." His statement was a perfect layup for me. I jokingly responded by telling him that his death shouldn't be a problem, since as per his belief, he would end up in paradise. When he asked if I was assuring them of paradise if they died, I said, "No, I'm not assuring you, but I am assured of paradise if I die even right now. I have no worry of death because Isa, the Word of God, has paid the price for my admission into paradise. I have accepted the gift of life he offered, and therefore I know I'm going into paradise at death, not because of what I have done, but because of the mercy and love that has been extended to me. I'm enjoying the free gift of life, and you and anyone else who wants to can receive that gift without any major work."
Mr. Meshach Ilobi, thank you for joining us on Channels Book Club. Great to have you here.
My pleasure. Thank you for the privilege.
How is Houston, Texas?
Hot and humid as usual, sometimes much hotter than Lagos, but we are fine.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now, Living Between Walls, your autobiography, thoroughly enjoyed reading it. I love the style. It's written in a fictional style, it's not just a narrative, but it's written in a nice, dramatic, fictional style. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Now, the book opened my eyes to see a lot of Igbo history, in northern part of Nigeria. You grew up in Zaria, then parts of the Biafra War experiences, your background in engineering, Shell, and so on and so forth. So it really cut across a number of experiences of yours in life. But if you were to summarize it to viewers out there, what would you say is the fundamental basis or crux of this story?
If I would put it in a simple sentence, it is the fact that all through life, I have found myself an outsider in different cultures. And looking from the outside inside, and I never stay long enough to settle in any culture. I am continually relocating.
What's the most powerful lesson in your book? I've got my opinion, but I would like to hear it from you, the author. Something. This is a bit different from the question I asked earlier, because reading through your autobiography, so many life lessons jump out at the individual reading. But I'm curious to know which one particularly you think is the most outstanding if you were to talk to a group of people about your book.
I'm going to say that our world is run by a creator God who not only created this world, but is active in running it and in making relationships happen. We should never live with a victim mentality. Whatever situation, whatever culture we end up, if we look up to that God, He will show us the human connections that he wants to use to help us out. We should always live as global citizens, not just Nigerian, American, or whatever citizenship. We, first of all, common citizens of this planet.
Mr. Meshach Ilobi, thank you very much. It's been a nice time chatting with you. And once again, well done on your autobiography, Living Between Worlds. Thank you for joining us on Channels Book Club.
Thank you very much, Kunle, and I'm privileged to be able to share my story through this great TV station, Channels Television. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I hope you have had a good time with us. As always, we'll be delighted to have your feedback through any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. I am Olakunle Kasumo. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.